this pulled up. She's speaking about
happening with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA is absolutely absurd. I actually think we're running into a bigger problem than people realize. If you're not familiar with what's going on, basically Caitlin Clark has been getting obliterated on the basketball court. It's very obvious that girls are coming for her. She's getting technical fouls for clapping. Just recently there was a player that literally was like pushing her in the neck, like punching her in the neck, like this is WWE. The bigger issue I see here is far greater than money. WNBA showcasing that when a generational, a once in a lifetime player who economists are literally predicting Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA is in the billions, you guys. When a girl of that much value goes into the league, let's just take out.
Something is happening in women's professional basketball right now that nobody's talking about in the right way, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The WNBA just made a decision that's about to cost them everything, and they don't even realize it yet. We're not talking about a bad playoff call or a controversial trade. We're talking about a systematic pattern of allowing the one person who saved their entire league from obscurity to be physically targeted, verbally disrespected, and deliberately sabotaged by the very system that should be protecting her. Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA as a generational talent, and instead of celebrating her, the league decided to crush her. Now, millions of fans are organizing a boycott that's about to teach the WNBA a lesson in economics they'll never forget. And here's the thing that really matters. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about what happens when a league chooses jealousy over opportunity, and what happens when fans finally say enough is enough. The story of Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA is actually the story of what happens when excellence becomes a threat instead of an asset, and the consequences are about to be devastating.
This Caitlin Clark and Alyssa Thomas situation is worse than the first one when she got a technical just for clapping. One thing about this internet, your boy John always say, it give it and it will damn sure take it away. And that's exactly what is occurring with the WNBA. See, the WNBA didn't know how to survive and succeed on the success of Caitlin Clark. Well, something that they're about to go through is a boycott like no other. Fans are demanding something be done with this Alyssa Thomas situation, for it's criminal, or they're already canceling WNBA league passes. The viewership is about to go down. I'm expecting tomorrow game to be one of the lowest viewed games of the entire WNBA season, possibly this year.
Let's start with what actually happened, because the facts are undeniable and they paint a picture that's absolutely damning for the WNBA. If you're not familiar with the situation, here's what you need to know. Caitlin Clark has been experiencing physical contact on the court that would draw flagrant fouls in the NBA without hesitation. But in the WNBA, when it happens to her, the whistle stays silent. The pattern started early and escalated quickly. She got hit with a technical foul for clapping, just clapping her hands in frustration like hundreds of male NBA players do every single game without consequence. The message was crystal clear from that moment. You're different, you're being watched differently. The rules don't apply to you the same way, but that was just the beginning. The real moment that broke something fundamental in the fan base came during a recent game with Alyssa Thomas. And this wasn't a borderline call or a bang-bang play that happened too fast to see clearly. This was unmistakable. Thomas made contact with Clark's neck area in what looked more like a wrestling move than a basketball play. 3 players were standing right there. The referees were watching directly, and somehow, inexplicably, the whistle never blew. Not a common foul, not even a flagrant, nothing, complete silence. Clark ended up injured and sitting out subsequent games while Thomas played like nothing happened. The footage is on camera. It's there for anyone to watch. It's blatant, it's obvious. And the fact that it wasn't called sent a shockwave through the entire fan base that's still reverberating today. But that's just the surface of what's really going on underneath.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
I did a video last season, if you guys have been tracking the channel for a while, about how much these WNBA referees make. Now, at the time, it wasn't nothing. Some even got paid just $400 a game to ref these games. Now, a lot of these referees are NBA referees, but here's the thing. A lot of these referees come from YMCAs, high school. There is no referee college or something. Now, there is courses that they take to kind of work on making calls. They take little things at the end of the season, have meetings, and they go over every call from the entire season that garnered review, that garnered, fan reaction.
Here's where the real conspiracy emerges, and this is what people need to understand if they want to see the full picture. The 2 referees working that game, Gina Cross and Angelica Suffren, have a documented history that goes way beyond coincidence. Fans started pulling receipts immediately after that non-call, and what they found was a pattern so consistent it couldn't be explained away as random bad luck. These two officials have worked multiple Caitlin Clark games throughout her career, going back to her college days, and in those games there are massive disparities in how calls get made. The numbers are shocking. In one game, the opposing team was given 32 free throw attempts while the Fever got 15. That's a negative 17 differential. Think about what that means in practical terms. The opposing team shot free throws more than twice as often as Clark's team. Once is a mistake, twice is coincidence. But when you look at the data across multiple games with these same officials, when you see statistical breakdowns showing how differently Clark's games are officiated depending on who's behind the whistle, you're not looking at accidents anymore. You're looking at a pattern, and patterns don't lie. They suggest intention. They suggest something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Now, before anyone dismisses this as emotional fans seeing what they want to see, understand what the WNBA's officiating system actually is, because this is crucial context. These aren't full-time professional referees who train year-round like NBA officials. Many WNBA referees come from high school basketball, YMCA leagues, and recreational circuits. There's no comprehensive minor league system for officials like there is for players. They take some courses. They attend meetings at the end of the season where they review controversial calls. They get feedback, and that's basically it. Until recently, many of these referees were making $400 per game. $400 to officiate a professional basketball game that's generating millions in viewership and involves a player whose economic impact is being measured in billions. Compare that to the NBA, where referees are full-time employees with year-round training, continuous evaluation, and professional development. The gap is enormous. The WNBA's officiating infrastructure is so dramatically underfunded and underdeveloped that it's actually shocking they're trusted with games that involve this level of money and attention. The fact that officials with documented bias issues toward a specific player keep getting assigned to her games isn't a coincidence. It's a failure of the league's oversight, or it's intentional. And right now, both explanations are equally damning. One fan summed it up perfectly. They said these refs aren't qualified to work youth basketball, let alone the highest level of professional women's basketball. And when you look at the actual credentials and training these officials have received, it's hard to argue they're wrong.
For reason this is poor happening, because they don't want to be labeled an ist or a probe. Until people can get over their fear of words, this will continue. These are not mistakes. It is intentional bias against Caitlin Clark. It goes on to say, great stats here against Angelica WNBA. We would like to hear from you. How incompetent do you get to be before being let go? Just let her focus on dancing, probably what she was doing, and why she missed calling the foul when 3 players was near Caitlin. This was at the game when Caitlin Clark was severely injured. I'm going to have to say she was severely injured because it looked very good.
But here's what makes this entire situation so bizarre and actually infuriating for fans who understand the economics of sports. The WNBA is simultaneously doing everything possible to sabotage the one person saving their entire league. Think about what's happening logically. You have a generational talent whose impact transcends basketball itself. She's sold out arenas that used to be half empty. She's brought in television ratings that shattered every previous record in women's basketball history. She's brought sponsorships and endorsement deals that didn't exist before she arrived. Corporate America is suddenly interested in women's basketball because of her. They're writing checks. Major companies are investing in the sport because they see the demographic and the mainstream appeal that Caitlin Clark brings. Ticket sales are up across the entire league, not just for games where her team plays at home, but for road games too. Fans are traveling to see her play, they're flying across oceans, they're buying season tickets, they're bringing their families, merchandise is flying off shelves, jersey sales are competing with all-time greats. This is unprecedented in women's professional basketball, and the WNBA's response to this once-in-a-generation opportunity, they allow her to be physically targeted. They assign referees with documented bias to work her games. They hand out technical fouls for gestures while allowing other players to scream at officials without consequence. They fail to protect her from what can only be described as targeted violence on the court. It's like watching a restaurant owner hire the best chef in the world, watch that chef turn his restaurant into a destination, start making unprecedented profit, and then respond by making the chef's working conditions so terrible that he can't cook. It's self-sabotage masquerading as normalcy. It's economic suicide disguised as business as usual. The WNBA is literally sitting on a goldmine, and they're actively destroying it because they can't get out of their own way. The numbers prove it. Caitlin Clark is the only athlete in women's basketball history whose jersey sales rival Steph Curry. She's brought 3.2 million viewers to games that used to struggle to crack 200,000. Economists are projecting her impact on the WNBA in the billions. Literal billions of dollars, and the league's response is to make her job harder, not easier. To protect her less, not more. To allow her to be targeted instead of celebrated. It's insane. But it only makes sense if you understand what's really driving it.
And I just got to be honest with you guys, man. It ain't looking good for the WNBA right now. I don't think there's nothing they could do. They got to suspend her more games, bro, for them to try to save this league. They have to suspend her for more games. Something has to be done. I just got to be completely honest with you. We got posts like this. Somebody said, I stopped watching the WNBA 2 weeks ago. My wife stopped watching after last week. We canceled our league pass. There is nothing for me in the W. It may have been Caitlin Clark's childhood dream as a second grader to play in this horrific league, but I was an adult. I'm done watching this hate fest. And they got Kathy on there, bro. This is very, very damaging for the W.
And this is where we get into the uncomfortable territory that nobody wants to talk about directly, because it requires acknowledging some things that sit beneath the surface of professional sports. There's jealousy happening here. Real palpable jealousy from other players, from some staff members, and apparently from some officials as well. Caitlin Clark arrived and immediately became the most talked about player in women's basketball. She got endorsement deals that other players with longer careers don't have. She brought mainstream media attention that elevated the entire league, but also meant that she personally was getting the spotlight. She was young, she was talented, she was breaking records, and she was doing it all while being herself without apology. Some people in the WNBA ecosystem couldn't handle that. Instead of celebrating that she was lifting the entire league, instead of understanding that her success was creating opportunities for everyone around her, some people started resenting her for it. And when you have people in positions of power, officials, coaches, other players, who are operating from a place of resentment, what you get is exactly what we're seeing. You get targeted plays that don't get called. You get technical fouls for actions other players commit without penalty. You get a system designed to punish excellence instead of reward it. There's also another layer to this that some people are afraid to discuss, but it's there and it matters. Caitlin Clark is a white player in a league where conversations about race definitely matter. She's also openly LGBTQ+ in a sport that has its own complicated history with those issues. None of that should matter for how she's officiated or treated on the court, but the evidence suggests it might be mattering to some people in ways that are deeply troubling. It's not something that's being discussed openly, which is part of the problem. But when you look at the pattern of how she's treated compared to other players, when you look at the disparities in officiating, when you see the jealousy and resentment in how other players talk about her success, there's something there that goes beyond basketball. It's cultural, it's systemic, it's rooted in things that make people uncomfortable to talk about directly, but avoiding the conversation doesn't make the problem go away, it just makes it worse. It allows the resentment to fester. It allows the targeting to continue unchecked. It allows the WNBA to pretend this is just about basketball when it's clearly about so much more than that.
She's out now. Out because of a game that should have protected her, but didn't. Out because warning signs were given and ignored. Out because the foul that should have been called wasn't. And the player who filled these arenas, who put this league on magazine covers and prime time, will instead be sitting in street clothes instead of warming up. I'm done waiting on Kathy and the league to police itself. So here's what we're going to do instead. When the Fever take the court against the Sparks, I'm calling on every one of you, every fan who picked this sport back up because of her, to sit it out with me. Lights out with Caitlin. Empty seats, dark.
The fan base finally reached a breaking point, and what happened next shows what happens when you push people too far. When you take away something people care about, they fight back, and they fight smart. Within hours of that non-call on the Alyssa Thomas play, social media exploded, but this wasn't just emotional venting from frustrated fans screaming into the void. People started doing research, they pulled receipts, they created statistical breakdowns. They made video compilations showing side-by-side comparisons of how different plays involving Caitlin Clark were officiated versus how similar plays involving other players were handled. Here's a play where Caitlin gets hammered driving to the basket, no call. Here's a play where another star gets similar contact, immediate whistle. Here's Caitlin getting a technical for clapping. Here's another player screaming at a referee, no technical. The evidence is overwhelming and it's all on video. It's not speculation, it's not opinion. It's documentation, it's proof. The conversation shifted from people being upset to people presenting concrete data. And that data pointed to one of two conclusions: either these referees are so incompetent they shouldn't be officiating fifth-grade games, or they're deliberately making biased calls against Caitlin Clark. Both options are bad, both options reveal systematic failures, but the fan response went beyond just criticism on social media. It organized, it coordinated, and it targeted the only thing that makes sports leagues take action: money. The movement started with a hashtag that spread like wildfire, lights out with Caitlin. The concept was simple and devastatingly effective. When the Fever play their next game without Caitlin Clark, fans are being called to do something unprecedented. They're being asked to participate in a boycott. Don't watch on TV, don't stream it, don't attend in person. Don't give the WNBA your viewership or your money. Create a measurable crater in the viewership numbers that the league cannot ignore or explain away. Make the numbers so bad that even the most obtuse executive has to understand that Caitlin Clark is the reason most people are watching in the first place. This isn't about the Sparks or any other team. This is about sending one message to the WNBA. We came for Caitlin Clark, and if you don't respect her, we don't respect you. And it started working immediately. People were posting screenshots of canceled WNBA League Pass subscriptions. Season ticket holders were demanding refunds. The comments were filled with people saying they were done, not just for one game, but potentially for the entire season. One person wrote that they flew across an ocean to watch Caitlin play, and they're still sitting out this game on principle. That's commitment. That's saying I spent my money, I traveled halfway around the world, and I'm still willing to sacrifice my own enjoyment to send a message. Another parent said their kid wears Clark's jersey to bed every night and they had to explain why the TV would be off, why sometimes you have to stand up for people even when it costs you something you enjoy. These aren't fringe trolls or emotional outliers. This is a significant portion of the WNBA's new fan base. These are the people who discovered women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark. These are the people who saved the WNBA from irrelevance. And they were organizing to say we're done if you won't protect her.
Living rooms broadcast with nobody watching. Not because we don't love this game, but because we do. Love means we are not just background noise when she is the one paying the price. If you flew across the country for a single game like I flew across the ocean, sit this one out anyway. If you've never missed a tip-off, miss this one. If your kid wears her jersey to bed, let her know why the TV is off this time. This isn't about punishing the Sparks, it's about making one thing.
But this situation extends far beyond one season or one player, and this is what should really terrify the WNBA's front office. Think about what message this sends to the next generation of female athletes. Young girls are watching this unfold in real time, and they're learning lessons that might shape women's basketball for decades. They're learning that even if you're the best at what you do, even if you bring unprecedented success to everyone around you, even if you're generating billions in economic value, you'll still be torn down if you shine too bright. They're learning that jealousy and resentment matter more than merit and achievement. They're learning that being excellent makes you a target instead of a role model. They're learning that the people who are supposed to protect you, the league officials, the referees, the administration, might be the ones enabling your mistreatment. Is that really the message the WNBA wants to send to the next generation? Because right now, that's exactly what's being broadcast to every young girl who dreams of playing professional basketball someday. Work hard, be exceptional, elevate everyone around you, and watch as they punish you for it. That's not just bad for Caitlin Clark. That's catastrophic for the future of women's basketball. If young girls see that the WNBA punishes excellence instead of celebrating it, why would they dedicate their lives to becoming elite players? Why would they believe that hard work and talent lead anywhere good if what they see on their screens is the league actively sabotaging the best player ever to play the game? The WNBA isn't just risking this season. They're risking the entire trajectory of women's basketball as a mainstream sport. They're potentially damaging the next 20 years of recruitment and development. Girls watching this are learning that success makes you a target. They're learning that if you're too good, if you bring too much attention, if you break too many records, you'll face retaliation. That's what the WNBA is teaching them right now, and that message is spreading. It's on social media. It's in conversations. It's shaping how young female athletes think about professional basketball. The WNBA had an opportunity to show the next generation that excellence is celebrated, that hard work leads to support and protection, that being the best player on the court means the system protects you and lifts you up. Instead, they're showing that excellence is punished. Success is resented. Talent is targeted. If I were a 16-year-old girl with incredible basketball skills watching this situation unfold, I'm not sure I'd want to play professional basketball at the WNBA level. Why would I? Why would I dedicate my teenage years and my college years to becoming an elite player only to get into a league where my excellence makes me a target? The WNBA is actively recruiting against themselves. They're telling the next generation of female athletes that their league is not a place where excellence is safe or celebrated.
With respect and with hope and with empty seats. Fans who came back because of her.
So as you guys just heard there is a growing concern with fans wanting to boycott this league. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments section, and I'm gonna continue to track this, man, every step of the way. Till next time, shake the haters off. I'm out.
So where does this leave us? The WNBA is in a crisis that's entirely of its own making, and the clock is ticking on how they respond. Every hour they stay silent, more fans cancel subscriptions. Every day they don't take action against the officials who failed to protect their biggest star, more people join the boycott. Every game Caitlin Clark sits out while Alyssa Thomas plays without additional consequence, the anger grows and more people lose faith in the league's basic competence. The league actually does have options, but none of them are easy, and all of them require admitting they've handled this catastrophically wrong from the very beginning. They could suspend the officials involved for several games and launch a genuine investigation into officiating bias. They could issue a public apology to Caitlin Clark and implement new player protection standards across the entire league. They could suspend Alyssa Thomas for additional games, sending a message that targeting star players has serious consequences. They could overhaul their entire officiating training and evaluation system to match the professionalism of the NBA. They could hire full-time referees, implement year-round training, and create a minor league system for officials so they're actually qualified to work professional games. They could have the hard conversations about culture that need to happen. They could acknowledge that some of their players and staff resent Caitlin Clark for reasons that have nothing to do with basketball. But here's what they probably won't do, and this is what's really damaging. They won't acknowledge that some of their players and staff resent Caitlin Clark for reasons that have nothing to do with basketball. They won't admit that some of the targeting is rooted in jealousy over her success, her endorsement deals, and her popularity. They won't confront the uncomfortable truth that the WNBA has a culture problem where excellence is punished rather than celebrated when it comes from certain people. They won't have the hard conversations about why a white, openly LGBTQ+ player getting targeted might involve elements that people are too afraid to talk about directly. They probably won't do any of these things because they'd require the league to look in the mirror and acknowledge systematic failures and cultural toxicity that go way deeper than just officiating. It's easier to ignore the problem. It's easier to pretend this is just about sports. It's easier to hope the boycott fizzles and people move on, but that's not going to happen. The damage is done, the fans have seen what's happening, the pattern is clear, and they're not going to forget. The fans participating in the Lights Out with Caitlin movement understand all of this. They see what's happening, they recognize the patterns. They know this isn't about basketball anymore if it ever was. This is about whether the WNBA is capable of getting out of its own way long enough to capitalize on the biggest opportunity in the league's history. And based on everything we've seen, the evidence suggests they might not be. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring viewers to the WNBA. She brought legitimacy, she brought respect. She brought casual sports fans who never cared about women's basketball and made them care. She brought corporate sponsors and television deals and magazine covers and primetime slots. She brought billions in economic impact. And in return, the league has allowed her to be targeted, injured, and disrespected while doing absolutely nothing to stop it. Some cases, the league has actively facilitated her mistreatment by assigning officials with documented bias to her games. The Lights Out with Caitlin movement is fans saying enough. They're saying we showed up for this league. We brought our money, our time, our families. We canceled plans and bought tickets and subscriptions because of one player, and you're treating her like garbage. So we're done, not forever necessarily, but we're done until you prove you actually want to protect her and celebrate her. We came for Caitlin Clark, and if you don't respect her, we don't respect you. The message is simple and it's powerful, and it's the kind of coordinated action that terrifies sports leagues because they know it works. Tomorrow's game is going to be a test. Will the boycott actually impact the viewership numbers? Will they crater so badly that the league can't explain it away? Will executives finally look at the data and realize what they're about to lose? Or will they double down on their dysfunction and watch as everything Caitlin Clark built for them crumbles? One thing is absolutely certain. The internet giveth and the internet taketh away. The WNBA benefited enormously from the internet bringing millions of new fans to women's basketball. But the internet is also watching. The internet is organizing. The internet is documenting every unfair call, every biased officiating decision, every moment where the league fails to protect its biggest star, and the internet is coordinating a response. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to benefit from someone's brilliance while allowing them to be brutalized. You don't get to cash the checks their popularity writes while refusing to protect them on the court. You don't get to profit from their success and then sabotage them when jealousy takes over. The WNBA is about to learn that lesson the hard way. And maybe they deserve to. Maybe a league that would rather see Caitlin Clark injured and sitting out games than admit they have a problem doesn't deserve the opportunity she brought them. Maybe the consequences need to be severe enough that the message finally sinks in. The real question now is what happens next. Does the WNBA finally wake up? Do they finally protect Caitlin Clark, celebrate her success, and build a league worthy of her talent? Do they hold the officials responsible? Do they examine their own culture and confront the jealousy and resentment that's poisoning the sport? Or do they ignore all of this, dismiss the boycott movement as just noise, and watch as the fans who saved them walk away just as quickly as they arrived? Because make no mistake, those fans don't owe the WNBA anything. The WNBA owes them something. They showed up for Caitlin Clark. They brought their families and their money and their passion. They made women's basketball mainstream, and they'll leave for Caitlin Clark too if the league keeps disrespecting her. The WNBA had a choice. They could have protected their biggest star, celebrated her success, and built something unprecedented in women's sports. Something that could have changed the trajectory of women's athletics forever. Instead, they chose jealousy and dysfunction and short-sighted thinking. Now they're about to face the consequences of that choice. The fans are watching. The internet is documenting, and the boycott is just beginning. What happens next depends entirely on whether the WNBA is willing to change, or whether they're comfortable destroying the best thing that's ever happened to women's basketball, because they couldn't get over their own insecurities. Based on everything we've seen so far, I'm not optimistic, but we'll find out soon enough. The Lights Out with Caitlin movement is about to send a message that's impossible to ignore, and if the WNBA doesn't listen, women's basketball might pay the price for years to come. Think about what's at stake here. This isn't just about ratings and money, although the WNBA is about to learn a painful lesson about how those things work. This is about the future of women's sports in America. This is about whether young girls will want to pursue basketball as a career. This is about whether mainstream America will continue to care about women's athletics or whether they'll decide it's not worth their time. The WNBA held the future of women's basketball in their hands when Caitlin Clark arrived. They could have nurtured it, they could have protected it, they could have built an empire on it. Instead, they chose to destroy it because they couldn't handle one player being better than everyone else and bringing attention because of it. That's not a basketball decision. That's a character decision. That's a choice about what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. And they're about to learn that the fans, the casual viewers, the people who finally cared about women's basketball are going to make decisions about what kind of league they want to support.